All right, everybody. Hey, what's up, everybody out there? My name is the ADD Gamer, and currently we are going to be going over Microsoft's E3 press briefing for 2014. Now, they announced a lot of things. Not too many things were definite. I didn't feel like they were very definite. All I really felt like that was going to be majorly incredible was Halo and maybe a little bit of Call of Duty. I'm not much of a Call of Duty fan myself. But I have to say, even when I'm not a fan of Call of Duty, I was a little impressed from the beginning of the briefing. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare looks a little phenomenal, I have to say. Even after these many years of being a Call of Duty hater, I've switched over to the Battlefield front, but Call of Duty definitely looks pretty interesting. They didn't show much of Kevin Spacey. That's all right. I'm going to go ahead and go over what they have. Basically, they went through a whole little demo within Call of Duty. A couple of things that I wanted to point out were a basically mobile mech suit. Now, one of the characters, one of the players, when he was walking by the mech suit, it was fully detailed and everything. It wasn't just an image that was stripped from a trailer. It was the full mech suit. So I have to concur that it's probably going to be possible for you to get into a mech suit within Call of Duty. They did not do all of that modeling just for you not to use it, to stare and look at it. I can guarantee you're going to be able to get into a mech suit in the game. One of the other features was I saw the player was able to rip off a car door and use it as a little bit of cover. Now, they skipped past that feature a little bit, but it definitely seemed a little interesting to me. He used it for cover in order to protect himself from some sort of a swarm of drones. Not alien drones, just drones itself. So that looked actually pretty interesting. There's sensor grenades that you've already seen before in the previous trailers for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Basically, you toss a sensor grenade and it displays the positions of all the enemies around. It seemed pretty interesting. We've already seen it before in previous games, but it's making its presence here. They brought in something that looked like a sonic shotgun. It seems like a shotgun that literally just based off of sonic sound. It looked interesting. I don't really know what it's going to be able to do besides be a shotgun. It's just a weapon in the game. One of the coolest things that I have to say was when the character pulled out a grenade, and it was a smart grenade. Basically, you switch over the tactical use of what the grenade is. It goes from like smart, incendiary, explosive, and the smart grenade portion of it was actually really interesting. The player tossed it up into the air, and it sought out its targets individually. He threw up like 3 of them at a time, and it took out 3 guards behind cover with a smart grenade. I don't really know how that's going to be able to go into multiplayer, because that seems a little bit overpowered to me. I mean, to just be able to take out people with a smart grenade from like around a corner, like when you know they're there, you toss a sensor grenade. Oh, a guy's right there. Let me toss a smart grenade right after that, you know? It looks pretty interesting. I don't know how they're going to be able to balance it, but it looks really cool. But other than that, the presentation was great. They've always been able to bring the sort of Call of Duty intense aspect of the game. Like, basically, they've been able to bring in a very compelling story most of the time, and on top of that, there's always Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey's a great actor, and so I have no doubt that Kevin Spacey's going to be able to bring it home for us. And it seems that every other actor that is in the game is going to be bringing it home as well. So they opened up with Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Not a big surprise, but it definitely did surprise me a little bit. I'm a little bit more excited to actually get my hands on Call of Duty Advanced Warfare to see how it's going to turn out. Not a big multiplayer person, but I'm excited to see this one. They went ahead and talked a little bit about Forza 5. They're adding another track, which is available today, an actual track. I don't really play much of Forza 5. Apparently, they're bringing in Nürburgring track. I've never heard of it, but apparently it's free for all those that have Forza 5 currently today. And what mainly this press briefing was about for the Forza franchise was the fact that they're bringing back Forza Horizon 2. Forza Horizon, the first one, was an incredible game. I really liked it. I liked the sense of music, compelling vehicles, and just driving in an open world with an EDM soundtrack in the background. It really felt like a great experience with the first Forza. Now that they're bringing it back with Forza 2 and supposedly seamless multiplayer, we have no idea how it's going to work, but it seems pretty cool. It's basically, what it seems like to me is like Test Drive Unlimited 1 and 2 put into the Forza universe with realistic driving and a great soundtrack. Now that would be a killer experience for anybody that's been playing racing games at all. That sounds like a great experience right there. One of the last things that they actually touched on the trailers was a Crackdown reboot. Basically, when the Xbox 360 came out, Crackdown came out pretty soon after. I can't remember if it was releasing with the Xbox 360 or if it was a year after, but Crackdown basically opened up the doors to the open world experience for the Xbox 360. It basically gave you a ridiculous amount of power with these super powered agents beating the crap out of crime and just you go through the entire city and take out entire crime syndicates. It was ridiculous. And it was also one of my most favorite games out of the Xbox 360 that I have to say. And I am so glad that they're bringing it to the Xbox One. I cannot wait to see how they're going to implement it. We've had a couple other ones that popped up, including Evolve, which is, they didn't show much on what it would be. Basically, it's supposed to be like Left 4 Dead. Or no, it's made from the Left 4 Dead creators. So you can definitely guarantee to see a cooperative experience there, focused around class systems this time. Left 4 Dead previously had not been focused around so much as a class system, but basically you just got a character and you shot zombies. This time they're focusing it around 4 systems, which is the standard, basically medic, assault, support. I can't remember what the 4th one is. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a scout class. But 4 classes. Seems interesting. It's called Evolve, and it's made from the Left 4 Dead creators. So if you liked Left 4 Dead, you're gonna like Evolve. The next thing that they talked about was Fable Legends. Fable Legends really didn't impress me. I felt like they really needed to show me something that was new for Fable because I wasn't impressed with Fable 2. I wasn't really impressed with Fable 3. Fable 1 was really the only one that brought me into the series, and they kind of pulled me out of it in Fable 2 and Fable 3. Now, the one thing that Fable has been able to actually pull across its series is its division of choice. A lot of choices within Fable have really been extraordinary. Like, a lot of them actually affected the things that happened in the game, especially in Fable 3. Now, granted, the games weren't that great, but the choices that you made were rather significant. And so that I have to give to Fable. But Fable Legends, they didn't really talk about choices. They didn't really cover anything in the past games. They didn't really. What they're really focusing on is the idea of creating a new experience where players can play as the various type of characters. You know, you like just cooperative play, and then you've got a player that can basically play as the villain. And I thought that was rather interesting. Basically, your player villain will start like a dungeon-like area where they'll be able to drop certain enemies and control the path of the fight. It's really interesting to see how they're going to implement this. I don't know whether or not it will be great because I'm really curious as to what's going to happen after the fact when nobody's really playing the game anymore. Where is this frontal feature where the villain is the main source of your gameplay? What happens when you don't have a villain controlling the arena? Is this the only feature that you're bringing? What else is going to compel me to go out and get Fable Legends? I wasn't really too impressed on Fable. It looks interesting, but there's nothing more that I can say until I see more of the game. I would have liked to see a little bit more on the game. I would have liked for them to sell me the experience of Fable. Tell me why I want to go out and get another Fable game when Fable 2 was pretty much garbage and Fable 3 was beyond garbage. Now, this one really pulled me in, I have to say. Even more so than Call of Duty, I'm really excited for Assassin's Creed. I haven't been excited for an Assassin's Creed game since Black Flag, and I know that's been a short time, but Black Flag was pretty damn good, but what Assassin's Creed definitely needed was a co-op game. Assassin's Creed Unity is going to be a co-op, 4 players. Supposedly, I think it could be more, but supposedly it's completely co-op story. Now that is pretty significant for me. I don't know about you, but Assassin's Creed and working together with your friends to actually complete co-op story missions and go through the entire game is incredible. It's ridiculous the amount of stuff that I saw there. There's finally an option for you to crouch in the game. You can actually crouch in Assassin's Creed Unity. It's crazy. It's crazy to the point where you're like, shouldn't they have already had this in games? You would think, but in Assassin's Creed 3, you still weren't able to crouch. The only way to crouch was to jump into a bush, and your character would crouch automatically. But other than that, Assassin's Creed Unity, you can crouch now. Yes. Apparently, there's some seamless drop-in, drop-out co-op, so that's pretty essential. You don't exactly have to go through menus, it seemed like, but I had to assume this based on what happened in the show. Basically, while they were going through their little scenario, I saw other players jump into the game in the next screenshot or the next couple frames, and I had to assume from that it's seamless drop-in, drop-out co-op, because other than that, you're not going to go to a menu for that. There's no way that they could have actually done that and not had 4 players for it. But I had to assume that it was drop-in, drop-out. Now we might get a little bit more of an expansion on this. They might explain it a little bit more later on, but for right now, I would safely like to assume that it's drop-in, drop-out co-op. And if so, that would be really great for the Assassin's Creed franchise. Not only the fact that you can co-op story now, but this all together, these features seem really great. Now, one thing that I didn't touch on yet was Assassin's Creed Unity is going to jump into the French Revolution. Previous games have jumped into different conflicts within the world, like the American Revolution, and it seems like Revolution is the strong point for Assassin's Creed. Previous games have gone to Florence, Rome, and really the only other conflict that it jumped into was Assassin's Creed 3, where they touched on the American Revolution. I really like the French Revolution. It seems like it's going to be a very juicy time period for them to tap into some resources, so I would definitely like to see more of Unity, and I can pretty much guarantee that I'll be picking this up. Next up, we have Dragon Age Inquisition. They didn't show much on Dragon Age. They showed a couple story trailers, not much on gameplay. All we know right now is that it's basically coming out on October 7th. It's co-op 4-player story, and that's assumed. I have to assume that there's going to be co-op 4-player story. They had a couple frames where they had like 4 people running towards an objective, and there's really nothing that I can say to discern that those were 4 actual players. It's just supposed, so I could be wrong, but you know, it really seemed like they tried to bang it hard into people's heads that, you know, Xbox One is going to be the co-op experience of the next generation. So, you know, come over here and let us show you the next generation of co-op. They hit pretty hard on Sunset Overdrive. Now, to me, I really felt like I needed a little bit more explanation on what Sunset Overdrive actually was, and it seems like it's a combination of Dead Rising and parkour. That's basically what summarizes Sunset Overdrive. So there's going to be 8-player co-op. We don't really know if it's going to be 8-player co-op story or if it's going to be 8-player co-op horde mode or what it's going to be. There's truly nothing that tells me that Sunset Overdrive is going to be absolutely the must-get series in the game or must-have game of the year, crap like that. There's nothing in this game that I can really say that jumped out to me. I didn't really feel that tingling inside. I think most of you gamers would understand what I mean by that. You know, there's nothing that's pulling me out to go out and get Sunset Overdrive when it comes out. I'm going to need a little bit more proof. I might actually wait for a couple reviews to come out before I go and pick it up. Really, from what I saw in the gameplay, was that there really wasn't that much difficulty involved. Truly, it felt like the guy that was running through the briefing, that he was just going through and killing all these guys with so much ease. And I have to say, if he's going through and defeating all these enemies with ridiculous ease, then how easy is the game itself? You know, I mean, games are meant to be difficult. I'm a hardcore gamer. I like playing difficult games. I feel like that if the game wasn't difficult, then I'm not getting the game. I'm not going to touch it. But other than that, I saw really not much difficulty in the game. And that's what I'm a little worried about, is whether they're just making this game look really cool for people to buy it, and not really worrying about the after effect. Oh, is this game challenging on gamers? Are people going to really give a damn about this game after the fact? Or are we just basically selling something that looks really pretty, and that's pretty much it? That's what I feel like they're doing. I could be wrong, and I would always like to be wrong, but Sunset Overdrive, I'll have to wait a little bit on that. What do we have left? Alright, so we didn't really get much on Halo Guardians. I'm very sad to say that we didn't get a lot on Halo Guardians, but we did get a Master Chief Collection announcement, which means that they're going to be basically compiling Master Chief's games, Halo Combat Evolved, that's Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, and Halo 4 into one complete game with 4,000 gamer score. I didn't really think that was very significant, but they're going to be bundling all of this into one game available for the Xbox One sometime around this holiday season. Also bundled with that is the beta availability for Halo Guardians. Now, I'm not much of a Halo fan myself, but I loved playing Halo 2, and I know that a lot of people are excited for Halo 2, especially a reboot of it. On top of that, they're also bringing back the multiplayer, kept exactly how it was. They haven't touched a thing besides maybe revitalize some of the looks of the game. And on top of that, you can switch back from previous generation graphics to the current generation graphics, which is a nice touch. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of gamers that are going to like that. Basically, I feel like Halo Master Chief Collection is just going to hold us over until Halo Guardians. Again, we haven't heard much about Halo Guardians. There's really not much there. So basically, they're throwing this Halo Master Chief Collection out to us as, you know, we like you guys. We know you wanted this, so we're going to give you Halo Revitalized Edition or the Master Chief Collection. We're going to give you this just so it'll hold you over until Halo Guardians. And that's fine. I don't mind. I want to play Halo 2 again. I haven't seen it in forever, so I'm really psyched for Halo 2, for the Halo Master Chief Edition. I'm even more psyched for Halo Guardians. Another couple games that they actually jumped into were one of the games was Limbo by or no, sorry, not Limbo. It's Inside. The game is actually called Inside, and it's by a Limbo creator. And if you don't know, if you've ever played Max the Brotherhood, if you've ever gotten any of the games with gold, it's a similar kind of concept in that you're basically just a character and it's a puzzle game. It's a puzzle-centric game, and there's really no story behind Limbo. It was more of just getting to the end, and that's what I feel held Limbo back. But I think Limbo's darkness kind of contributed to itself in its story. So there was really not that much story to Limbo, but there wasn't really necessary for there to be a story there. I would have liked one. There wasn't really necessary for it to be there. I think Inside is going to provide us that story that we were all yearning for out of Limbo. So I would keep your eyes open for Inside coming to Xbox One. They showed us a little bit of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Not much of it. It was basically a gameplay demo. I can't really take much out of it. There's a couple new powers that are coming to the game. Well, not really new, but they basically showed them off. Basically, when the character was going through hunting one of these monsters, it was called a griffin. While he's hunting these monsters, he runs into random events, and one of the events was he ran into a group of bandits. And he basically proceeds to kill them and cut them in half. If there's one thing that this trailer showed among anything else, is that Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt is going to be extremely graphic. I mean, they showed no shame in cutting guys in half and just displaying that within the game. That seems pretty brutal to me. I'm all for brutal games. I have no sympathy towards certain enemies getting destroyed in certain ways, but Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is still a game that I would like to wait a little bit more on. I know that they're going to do a great job with it. From what I've seen already, it's an open world experience, and it's probably going to be the first open world game that's really going to impress me. Besides some other games that have already come out, like Dead Rising 3, but they're completely separate. This is probably going to be the first open-world RPG game that I can say that I will be looking into. All right, the Division. They didn't focus too much on the Division. A lot of these games, they are still waiting to present them in previous cases, so they only really touched on them very slightly in the Xbox briefing. You know, the Xbox briefing is the first one that is here. But the Division, they showed a very short scene about it that's very similar to the one that they showed last E3, and where they tried to show everybody co-op gameplay with your friends, and that's what it seemed like here. The only thing about this extra scene was that it felt a little more detached. It didn't really feel like it was a cooperative experience. I was curious as to where the other 3 players were, whether those 3 people were actually players, whether the game was actually a simulation. I really couldn't make the difference out. I don't know if the main character or the person that was running the demo was actually with other people, or whether those people just were computers. So that makes me beg the question whether the Division is a simulation or if it's an actual game. So these questions, among more, will probably be answered later on in the year when they decide to bring us out a little bit more with the Division. Another couple games that they jumped into was called Ori the Blind Forest. Ori wasn't really that... I've never heard of Ori before, but if I can compare it to anything, it's going to be probably similar to Max the Brotherhood, which came out with on Games with Gold. Games with Gold, if you guys haven't gotten into Max the Brotherhood, I would suggest that you do so. If you have Games with Gold, I would suggest you download it. It's a very fantastic game, and I can only suspect that Ori the Blind Forest will probably become a Games with Gold game and whenever it comes out. Mainly because they need fluff. They need fluff for Games with Gold. That's one thing that's guaranteed. Project Spark, they jumped into a little bit with Project Spark. If you haven't gotten a chance to play it, it's really basically an open world RPG that players create all the content. It seems pretty interesting. All they're really doing with Project Spark is they're adding more to it. Not really much in terms of, hey, you should come over to Xbox One to play this. I can't guarantee that I would jump over from a PS4 to go get an Xbox from Project Spark alone, but it's there, and they're adding a little bit more content to it. But like I said, really not much there. The couple other things that they jumped onto was this game called Scalebound, and it was basically just a trailer. It's not much of anything. It's just a trailer, and I have to explain this like completely. It's not full. I mean, you haven't seen anything out of this game. A lot of the new games that they're bringing to us, they're just trailers. They're not actual gameplay. We haven't seen a lot of anything just yet. So I'm not exactly convinced to say that Xbox One has a lot of convincing games for me to jump into. They also touched on a little bit with Tomb Raider, the rise of Tomb Raider. There's not much that I can say about that either. It's just trailers and trailers and trailers and trailers, not much gameplay. There's nothing really solid about these games. I didn't really care for the previous Tomb Raider. I'm not really going to say that I'm going to go out and get Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's just not my type of game. Dance Central also made a little bit of an appearance. It was a very small appearance due to the fact that they're kind of ditching the Kinect, but Dance Central did make an appearance. The next game is going to be called Dance Central Spotlight, and supposedly what they're going to be able to do is they're going to be able to jump into the game and get songs out a lot faster than what they usually would have. Supposedly they're going to be able to bring tracks to you a lot quicker. I don't know how they're going to be able to do this. All they said is that they're supposedly going to be able to do that, but if they do, if they manage to do it, if they manage to pull it off, I think Dance Central would become a game that would probably be the only game that you would need a Kinect to actually get. It would be the only reason for you to actually get a Kinect besides a couple of the extra features. It would make Dance Central last a little bit longer, and that's pretty much about it. Like I said about Scalebound, there's not much there. It's just a trailer. I'm not really proved by everything. We still don't really know what it is yet. We don't know if it's an RPG, an action game, a combination of both. We don't know the skill system. We don't know anything about Scalebound, so I can't say anything about it. Apart from that, a lot of what I saw in this presentation was basically Microsoft let the games speak for them. And that's perfectly fine. That's what they needed to do from the get-go. However, I do feel like the consumer, the people that bought an Xbox One, they still feel like they need a little bit of explanation as to what they're actually doing. You know, they didn't really talk anything about their strategy, about where they're going to actually go, whether they're compelling to gamers, whether they're bringing just games, and they did. They let the games speak for themselves, but I felt like I needed a little bit more of an assurance as to what exactly they're going to do with this. I really can't compare yet. There's no other press briefings out yet, but once I get a hold and get a look on all the press briefings, I'm going to go ahead and combine all of them into a comprehensive review to see who actually won E3. So far, if I was to rate Xbox's or Microsoft's E3 press briefing, I would probably give it a 7 out of 10 because they showed us the games, but really they didn't show us anything definite besides the trailers and anything beyond that. There's really, when I look at it, what it all comes down to for me is whether or not, if I didn't already have an Xbox One, would it make me want to go out and get an Xbox One? From this press briefing, I can't say that I would. There's definitely great games coming to the system, but I can't say that I would be jumping off my couch to go and pick up an Xbox One this holiday season because we still don't have an announcement for a lot of these games that are coming out. A lot of them are coming out in 2015. None of them that I can see are coming out in 2014. So there's really no reason to jump off your couch and go and pick up an Xbox One as of right now. And that's where I feel they're going to have a little bit of difficulty. Unless they can actually sell us something decent for 2014, I don't believe they'll really be able to do anything for this upcoming, holiday season. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and roll out, let you guys, whoever's watching, to get back to your briefings, to go ahead and watch the rest of the games that are coming out. If you want to, you can come back to my page. I'll be having a collective review of everything that's going on in the next coming briefings, and I'm going to go ahead and combine them into one massive video, hopefully, and do a review of all briefings and see which one did the best. Everybody take it easy out there and enjoy E3.